conversation and ask him his views regarding the failed assassination attempt on former President Trump. And of course, what impacts do you think it'll have on the elections in the United States, considering in the presidential debate, the political analysts were already calling it a disaster for President Joe Biden and saying that it has put him in a tight spot?
No, that's right. In fact, it would not only have a domestic connotation, but it would also have an international impact of the election of United States, forthcoming election on the 5th of November. Now, this very incident definitely would impact the domestic politics, and the winner candidate now, it appears that Donald Trump, after this assassination attempt and after his gestures and after his brave face and after once he posed for the crowd and then captured in the camera. So that has really resonated in the United States American society, that he's the person who's brave, as compared to 81 years old Joe Biden, who in the debate was quite wavering and almost lost. And he himself stated that because he was traveling and he was not well rested, therefore he could not perform well. He started trying to recover in past two speeches at different occasions, Joe Biden. But now, after this assassination attempt and Joe Biden's and Trump's reactions afterward, that, in my view, next 2-3 time we'll have the poll and we'll find that the graph would go much higher. Now, at least some of the analysts, including myself, we feel that Joe Biden, who had votes after the debate, now it appears that Donald Trump is going to gain an edge. Now, next week in the formal Republican National Convention, Trump is going to nominate as vice president also. And he has also already said that, he would definitely go make a speech and he would appear in that Republican National Congress, which means even if he's advised otherwise, he has already made an announcement. And why not? Because he has made an announcement. He knows that that's the day of the nomination, formalities or formal nomination, and then also his vice president candidate would also be nominated. It leads us to one definite point, that such incidents do not happen in the vacuum. Such incidents, there are certain grounds, there are certain atmosphere, as the Russian says, that the atmosphere was created and Joe Biden is to be blamed for creating this atmosphere. Well, that's their perspective. But then the blame game also starts happening around, and within the United States, there's so much of messages on X, on Instagram, on other places by name, which I'm coming on that in a while. Now, this young man of 20 years, Thomas Matthew Crook, resident of Pennsylvania, a pure American boy, and at such an age, how his mind was polluted and poisoned. Was there any atmosphere being created, the right wing, the left wing, or there were groups, the political groups who were taken positions which started poisoning and polluting the minds of the young people. There were certain rumors on the X and on other social media that it could spark violence within the society. I don't think so. It's going to happen because very well controlled now. The secret services reacted, although there are questions on secret services, why that rooftop was unattended, and the other rooftops, they had perhaps made deployment. However, of the secret service, who are very well trained. I'm personally aware of their training mechanism. So they as per the rehearsal, as per the drill, they reacted quite well, and then they demonstrated that how best can they protect. But it's basically the miracle. Last about 14 times, there have been assassination attempt on the presidential candidates in past. And out of those 20 attempts, this seems to be the most serious attempt where it is just a miracle that Donald Trump, in his normal speech style, sometimes he twists his head on the right and sometimes he twists his left head on the left, and it was just a matter of few millimeters that he twisted his head, and the same moment the attacker he fired, and he had, of course, taken the aim, as the commentators say, the experts say, he had taken the aim of his face, his head. So it's basically a miracle that he survived. And after that survival, the way he started raising his fist, the way he started chanting slogan that fight, fight, and fight. So those are the some of those gestures which it appears that would resonate quite well among the American society, at least to the that there is a person who is more energetic than Biden. There is a person who is about a couple of years, 3 years younger to Biden, and here is a person who could face such trauma with a confident face. So that way, it appears that it has gone in that it would benefit the Republican, and Republican would definitely gain. One thing, though, is to be underlined, and that is it's going to inflame further political divide. This political divide and this shooting of today's shooting by attacker, that is also a clear testimony of the divide, clear testimony of the division, clear testimony of polarization. Unfortunately, in a country like ours, also the polarization started a couple of years ago, and the language of the politicians and the political leaders have also less than desired, and our youngsters, they have started copying them, and they started taking their extreme positions in tolerant society. So they're like in the United States, the tolerance level has started going down, and a country like ours also, we witnessed the same thing. Now, there are certain comments and there are certain remarks on social media comments. Some comments say that it's a false flag operation arranged and staged by the Republican. Some would say that's a far right. President Biden has ordering was.
We'll come to the social media aspect as well, because of course every news, and I'd like to ask you why when we talk about President Joe Biden, of course there's a lot of criticism regarding his health, regarding the presidential debate, and there was also talks on finding a different nominee for the Democrat side. What challenges do you think, in your opinion, the party would have faced when it comes to choosing a better nominee? Because as President Joe Biden earlier said in one of his election speeches as well, that he doesn't want to back off.
Um, uh, well, against all the pressures within his own party, Joe Biden has shown its reluctance in stepping down from the nomination. So that is one aspect, and it's his prerogative whether he wants to step down or whether he wants to go for the second term. But with all the episode which has been happening, starting from the debate, presidential debate, where Biden could not perform that well as compared to Donald Trump. So starting from there, all the polls had shown a decline in the popularity and the election poll. So that was one aspect, and the Democrats are quite worried that perhaps he's going to be the 29th president, sitting president, who is going to have one term only by losing the election against the Donald Trump. That's what the opinion is coming forth, and that's what the polls, the electoral polls, are showing now. And as I said in the first segment, that after today's incident, and after today's assassination attempt on Donald Trump, it appears that the graph is going to go high. And then also the kind of statement, the gestures I've already covered, his pose, his pictures, his capture, the way his expressions have been captured. All these things are going to matter in the forthcoming campaign, because there's just about 4 or 5 months left now. 5th of November is the D-Day for the election. So Democrats indeed are quite worried about it, that they're going to lose the second chance of their presidency. And here the Joe Biden is going to be 29th president who is going to lose. Previously, in the history of United States. There are 28 presidents, not including Donald Trump last time. But yes, really, he's showing quite good recovery and coming back. His July conviction of July 14th, perhaps, where he was convicted by the court, that had a mixed kind of a feeling. But later on, now, after this assassination attempt, people are trying to connect that once the legal course of action could not work, although the United States have a very robust legal criminal justice system and a legal system. But what the critics are saying is that since the powers who matter could not really attempt to subdue Donald Trump through the courts or through the legal mechanism. So that's why perhaps they have resorted to this. These are the rumors going on. But turning back on that factual position and what currently it looks like, that today's episode is going to be a landmark. This is the first of its kind where a miracle has taken place. As I said, there are 13 previous attempts were not as serious as this one, the one which happened yesterday night. So from that standpoint, the Democrats are quite worried, and they would be even more worried now once they see that Donald Trump, with his strong statements soon after the assassination attempt, that we should stand united and show our true, this is what Trump is saying, show our true character, and Americans remaining strong, determined, and not allowing evil win. So these kind of strong-worded statements, it goes well into the voters and supporters' mind and heart.
There's a follow-up question in regards to that. When we talk about the elections, and as you mentioned, the pre-election polls as well, of course, there's the policies, the domestic policies that the voters focus on, such as relating to healthcare, education, insurances, and the immigration policies, and etc. The policies that relate to the common man. And now, when we talk about the situation and how the pre-polls are coming in, of course, do you think it's more of the voters and the people, the masses, they're more focused on a day-to-day situation and the narratives that is unfolding on a day-to-day basis instead of focusing on what these parties or the candidates are promising to them?
No, obviously, the day-to-day problems and day-to-day issue and the cost of living and the unemployment, all those factors combined together do affect the electoral campaign of any country, and more importantly, United States. That's true. But that is also true that Donald Trump, right from the very start, from 21 onward, February 21 onward, once he handed over the charge to Joe Biden, he was working on the right-wing politics. And he worked quite well so far his own constituency and his own sphere was concerned. And from that standpoint, as I was indicating, that different surveys are showing that he gained the popularity. We can call it a divide, we can call it a polarization, but whatever it is, that Donald Trump has worked on from one angle, that is the right-wing angle, and he has his own policy on the immigration, on taxation, on trade, on the world affairs, and you have heard him saying how he's going to resolve within 24 hours Ukraine problem, and I quoted to you in previous segment what Russians spokesperson, Mr. Peter something, he mentioned, and what he said about Donald Trump. So one could make out some leaning and some frequency match of the Russian and the Donald Trump. From that standpoint, Donald Trump's claim about the Ukraine resolution, Donald's standpoint that he's going to resolve some of the world conflicts. So that is another aspect that the Americans, they are really quite sick and tired that the taxpayers' money are being pumped in, billions and billions of dollars in Ukraine war and in Gaza and other conflict area. So that is also bringing burden on the American society. So all these factors combined, it does have the impact and effect on the day-to-day life of people and on the thinking of the people But as I said, that since they have entered, the world is entering into a polarized kind of a divide, polarized kind of a society, and the divide among the political people. So from that point of view, Donald Trump has his own pocket of following and the voter supporter, and that's why we see these surveys showing a positive stride in favor of Donald Trump. And the future, the result, if Donald Trump wins, he has spelled out policies, and the world the affairs and the international affairs will find a change into it. The global West to global East, what drift is taking place, what way Donald Trump is going to assert his energies after taking over, and what way countries like Pakistan.
I'd like your detailed view. Neil, we're running short on time as well, so I'd like your quick views. How do you think these elections are going to impact the U.S. relationship with Pakistan regarding both? We know what President Joe Biden has, of course, and we'd like to hear what you think would happen if the Republican side is in power. Dr. Jamil, can you hear us? Dr. Jamil, if you can
during his last tenure, during the last tenure of Trump, he has demonstrated some of his actions were not in harmony with the establishment. Otherwise, U.S. foreign policy is normally well structured, but from Trump, you can expect that he could break that very traditional foreign policy and kind of a knee-jerk type of decisions in the foreign policy once he wins. But towards the Pakistan, by far he had a normal and very mutually benefited to the extent whatever was possible, although there was a blame game initially he made, but subsequently he corrected himself. All the allegations which he's been leveling against Pakistan. Now, it all depends what way our foreign ministry and our diplomats there or elsewhere, they are able to just make the grounds in a way that Trump do not go back to his January 20 statements where he had blamed Pakistan in a very manner. So from that standpoint, yes, one has to start really working in that direction to make sure that he gets the right kind of a feedback. There are Pakistanis in the Democratic Party, Pakistani origin in the origin Americans in the Democratic Party, and I think Pakistan and Pakistani community there, they should also engage with such people so that the forthcoming president, and obviously we have to really identify all the state secretaries, possible state secretaries in the new cabinet, and our community, our people, our foreign ministry, they should start working. Otherwise, as I said, that Donald Trump is quite in habit of knee-jerk type of a decision, which is very unprecedented in the American foreign policy or structured policy of the United States. And we have seen what decision he had taken about Golan Heights, as unilaterally he had recognized Golan Heights against the Security Council resolutions of 67. And likewise, once Tel Aviv was shifting its capital, he was the first to shift United States capital from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Those kind of things.
Right, Dr.